Are your children addicted to video games? One of the most difficult conversations for parents today to have with their children is when they confront them about an addiction to a video game or even social media or Netflix. Often this can take a very negative approach in which we just tell them to stop doing it. But in a recent interview with Father Blake Britton, he encouraged taking more of a positive approach. I invite you to hear his reflection and stay tuned as I unpack it after.
It's important that anytime we go to engage in an evangelical activity or anytime that we go into our parenting, we always keep the principle of St. Augustine in mind that human persons always do things for the sake of a good. So anytime that we're speaking with someone, that we're dialoguing with someone, including our own children, we have to presume that they're doing this activity, and let's say even if it's an inappropriate activity, they're doing this thing because they're actually desiring a good. In the end, that's what St. Augustine says sin actually is. Sin is desiring a good in the wrong way. So with that presupposition in mind, instead of us coming towards our children or approaching their gaming activity as a negative, I think it's very important to come at it with a more positive light, realizing that, well, my child is essentially good, and the reason why they're gaming has to be for a good reason. And so my duty, first and foremost, as a parent or myself as a priest, whenever I work with kids from my own school or I do any sort of counseling with teens and young adults, is to ask, I need to find what good they're looking for and to find out why that good is being realized in this virtual world. So when it comes to the particular topic of gaming, you will always discover that kids, teens, and young adults do not game just for the sake of entertainment or pleasure. This is spoken to by the kind of games and the genres of games that there are nowadays. You know, we don't play Pong anymore, right? Like it is, you know, it's even beyond Galaga and some of these other arcade games.
Oh my!
The games, the games nowadays are much more complex and usually have very deep storylines. And also, we're living in a time in civilization when society has lost the philosophical and theological capacity to answer deeper questions. And so the virtual and entertainment industry has become a medium by which to struggle with these existential questions and these existential programs that take place within the human heart. So to give an example, there's a game that I think really defines the millennial and Gen Z generation entitled The Last of Us. This was originally on the PlayStation format. And this game is about an epidemic that takes place around the world, quite timely, you know. But this epidemic, unfortunately, renders humanity sort of in this apocalyptic situation, and you're left to try to survive with your daughter, with your little girl. And not to give any spoilers, but towards the end of the game, your daughter ends up getting shot, you know, and she's sitting there and she's dying. And as a father, you have to make some very difficult decisions. That's not just some form of entertainment. In those moments, and there are many other games like this, you're really having to struggle with these sincere life crises through parenthood. There are video games about divorce. There are video games about struggles with personal sins. There are video games about heroism and about accomplishing quest. So it's always important to find out why a particular game or a particular genre of game is attractive to your child. The way that I would always go about it is, so what do you like about that game? You know, why do you game so much? What do you enjoy about it? You'll be shocked at the answers. It's so inspiring. You know what, Mom? I love this game because I get to be a hero. You know what, Dad? I love this game because in this world, people are kind and they're good. And I feel like I can be myself around them. You know, I love this game because I'm desiring nature. There are so many video games. I think of Skyrim, which is one of my favorite games of all time. It's literally just this massive open world RPG, which means it's a role-playing game. So you sort of create your own avatar and character. And the nature in these games are incredible. And literally, you're tempted just to walk around the forest or just to swim through the lake. Or, you know, these are things that, especially you being in Canada, one of the most beautiful countries as far as nature goes, they are designing this communion with the natural world. And so you'll find that as a common theme. Beauty is most certainly a common theme. The amount of teens and young adults who play video games just for the sake of the soundtrack is really astonishing. Right now, Hollywood, as well as the music industry, is being driven more by video games than by any form of film industry. The gaming industry, there are over 2 billion gamers on planet Earth. Over 60% of people in the United States of America play video games, including baby boomers and adults. And that is including the on the phone, PC, consoles, and also internet inter-exchange medium games. So this is something that's largely attractive, and a big part of that has to be the beauty of it, and the fact that these games are trying to tap into that great avenue of beauty, which is our one holy Catholic and apostolic faith. And this is the good news. All the goods, all the desires that your child or that your teens at your parish are experiencing within the gaming industry, the church has them in abundance and more. So it's not so much suppressing, if you will, their desire for gaming, but rather it's recognizing it and honing it to a higher good, and letting them know that they don't have to get rid of their gaming, but rather I'm going to now take this good that I find in gaming, and I can continue to enjoy it in a subliminal form in this virtual world as I play games. But there's a place in reality outside of the virtual world where these desires can be manifested and realized. And that's in your one holy Catholic and apostolic faith. And let us show you how. That's why as a priest, I'm so emphatic on the beauty of liturgies, the beauty of sacred music, the beauty of architecture, because the gaming industry sometimes outdoes us in those avenues. And that's why they get more attraction than we do. This is why I'm so emphatic on intellectualism and theology, especially with the teens and the youth, to never speak down to them, but to bring them up to the rich intellectual heritage that we have as a Catholic Church. These games are masterful at that. They're not treating the children like children. They're really challenging them to think and to struggle with intellectual questions. And that's why I'm also very emphatic on challenging our youth to morality, to goodness, to greatness. They are created for greatness. They know it. And if we're not giving them that opportunity for greatness, then they're going to try to find it somewhere else, even if that means in a virtual world walking around Skyrim. So these are just a couple of brief reflections that I would offer. And I do want to thank the parents and guardians and pastoral ministers for even listening to this. I know this is perhaps for some of us a new realm of evangelization that we're not used to. And I'm sure for many of us, we didn't realize what a big deal it is. You know, the fact that there are over a billion gamers on planet Earth, the fact that there are more millennials who play video games than watch movies or watch Netflix and television. So this is a huge area of evangelical expertise in which we need to start understanding and grappling with. And it's also a great field in the vineyard of the Lord where we can start touching the hearts of youth and bringing them back to the church and to the life of the church. So thank you so much. And a wonderful question, Deacon Richard.
Amen. I love that approach, the ability to recognize the good that they have and name it in the virtual setting. It affirms them for seeking something that they truly desire, something that's good. And then the ability to accompany them into actualizing it in the real world.
Yeah,
it's a real form of like discipleship. You know,
it is. It's virtue formation, which is the first role of parenting in the end. And now I'm speaking about biological parenting as well as spiritual parenting for myself as a priest. It's helping children start developing these virtues and learning little by little to bring them into reality. So within the depths of their heart as likeness and image of God, which all of them are by merit of their conception, they have these innate goods within them that are waiting to be realized and named. And our goal as educators, and for those of you who've seen my podcast, you know I love etymology, the origin of words, but that word education from that wonderful Latin word educare, which means to draw out, right? So education doesn't mean to put something in someone like information they were lacking, but rather to help them draw out a truth that was already existent in them as God's likeness and image. So we draw out of them this virtue, but we can only do that by naming it, as you mentioned, Deacon Richard. So I think that's a very key point that will be helpful for all of us as we continue our evangelization.
Amen. Thanks, Father Blake. Father Blake encourages us to take a positive approach in our dialogue with loved ones about their addictions. And we know that we can pursue this approach because the human person is good, and so they are always seeking the good in their actions. The way that Father Blake encourages this to happen is by first recognizing the good that your loved one is seeking. First, you must ask a great question. Second, you must listen well. And third, you must affirm the good that they are seeking. Once you've recognized the good that your child or loved one is seeking, then you can provide a way that the Catholic Church is the answer to the good that they are seeking. For example, you can ask your child, "What do you like so much about playing Roblox?" Then listen well. Once you've heard them and asked enough questions, and you can say, so you like being able to gather online at any time with your friends to accomplish a great mission, to accomplish something exciting. Okay, so you're seeking an exciting mission and you're seeking community. Those are great things. Once you've recognized those two goods, that they're seeking something exciting to do and to build community, you can provide a way that the Catholic Church is the answer to that. For example, what do you think about gathering together a group of your friends for the youth group and fundraising for a foreign mission, say in Kenya, where you can build a school for orphans? In this way, you give them something exciting to do, fundraising lots of money to build an orphanage in a foreign land. And then you give them an opportunity to gather together in a community, both with their friends and in a larger group with the youth group at school. Providing ways for your children to experience the good that they're seeking in the Catholic Church allows them to recognize that they are always seeking a good and that the Catholic Church is the fulfillment of the good that they are seeking. I hope this little example provides a way in which you can see how a positive approach to dialoguing with your loved ones and children about video games and social media, whatever addictions there might be, can actually provide a way to an encounter with Jesus Christ through His Holy Catholic Church. Comment below on what you think about this video. God bless.